Hello and welcome to Kamilla Singh show. Yes, summer is here and we haven't been recording this show regularly because everyone is busy. This is the time that we all have been traveling, but now we are back and some of us might go back again before September. But anyhow, we are in the studio today and there is a very important announcement that came down, and today we may spend all time talking about Surrey. So that's where we're gonna start today, right here in Surrey. And with my my left is Linda Ennis, and she is the executive director of Crime Stoppers, as well as she is a city councillor with city of Surrey. Sorry, and with next to her is Annie Ohana, and she is an activist and she is a teacher at LA Madison right here in Surrey. So we have been talking quite a bit about what's gonna be taking place, and we were waiting for this news to come down. It has been in 4 years in making. So I will start with you, Linda, because you are very vocal about RCMP versus SPS, right? And I know that it has come down, the decision from Mike Farnworth has come down that they would prefer SPS to be the police of choice right here in Surrey. Do you think now, when everything is behind us, do you think that's the right decision?
Well, the decision's been made, and I think what we really need to do is move forward. We can't be looking in the rearview mirror. We need to get on with it, and we need to be developing the absolutely best police force that we can to serve Surrey. It's our opportunity now to, and not many cities get this opportunity, is to build a police force that serves the absolute needs of the residents of Surrey, which are very unique.
Annie, I was going to ask, there were about 300, 300,000 people signed the petition when there was a petition was going on about a few years ago that they want to keep the RCMP. Do you think the consultation was done? Because at the end of the day, the people in Surrey, like you both live in Surrey, you will be the taxpayer, and so are the businesses. And so is Surrey Board of Trade, which represent about 6,000 businesses. The property tax and everything will be going up to save the people in Surrey by keeping SPS.
I would say this. I think, no, the consultation wasn't done, but this is kind of a rehashing kind of the old story now, right? This did not happen the way it should have happened, right? You know, that's the bottom line. I don't think we're ever going to change the story on that and how things went down. That being said, at this point, it seems like Farnsworth has made it clear again that the plan in place to keep the RCMP is just not enough. So, with that being said, and I appreciate Linda's comments. I know you've been saying like the idea of like even a police training kind of center here in Surrey. Like there are things we can do at this point to make sure that what we have now or what we will have, you know, whatever, however you want to put it, will be the best it can be. As a resident at this point, I know the taxes are going to go up. No matter what, unfortunately, right? We know that because it wasn't done right to begin with. It was going to cost money no matter what. But at this point, my concern is that it's too political to really make sense on the ground. So as a resident, I want to deal with the actual issues that we're facing and not the political side. So at this point, we have a decision. I hope that we can move forward and really start thinking about what this actually, like I want to have discussions with, I'm not shy about saying that I would love less policing at the end of the day. If our city were safe, if we had everything we really needed in our city, hopefully we wouldn't need, you know, the higher levels of policing, right? I think that's always the wrong way to look at things in a sense, right? That being said, you know, let's have those discussions. So if we're going to have to spend the money, let's spend it to actually build something that's going to work. At this point, I don't even know anymore what to say about the RCMP versus SPS because it's too lost in the political drama of it all. And I don't know if it's ended because it can go to court. So, you know, who knows what the next steps will be for the city of Surrey.
Well, if I can just add a couple of points to that, because I think it's really, you know, both the RCMP and the Surrey Police Service both can provide good policing for Surrey. I don't think there's any question about that. And I think you're right, it's become way too political. I think what we really have to look at is how policing will look moving forward. What we do know that's fact and not political is that there are 1,500 RCMP officers short for British Columbia. And right now, there is only just under 700 officers coming out of depot each and every year to serve all of Canada. To fill the gap that's required in Surrey and in British Columbia for policing using the RCMP model is problematic. Either the RCMP need to do something to be able to increase capacity significantly in depot, or Surrey is forced to make a change, in my opinion. The other piece that's looming out there that we don't know the answer, no one does quite frankly, is in 2032, the policing contract comes up for the RCMP to do municipal policing. We don't know which way that is going. We do get hints from the federal government, both from all parties, that they would prefer that the RCMP comes out of contract policing for municipalities and they do the federal piece. So it would be really awful if we had to go through this again in 2032, which is just 8 years away. So that's a huge concern for me. The other piece is I agree, it's gotten way too political, and moving forward, part of what the process needs to be is engaging more with the residents of Surrey. What is it they want? Where do they see the gaps? And being really honest about what it's going to cost and what the model is going to look like. We do know that the provincial government's going to kick in $150 million, but is there more that they might help us? So what happens if it costs us more? Are they willing to come to the table? I sure hope so, but don't know the answer to that.
Okay, so I think you answered the question, but I'm going to ask you again. What is the future of RCMP? Because even the federal government, Justin Trudeau, have expressed that the RCMP, maybe they may be more like Caesars. They're not going to be using RCMP because they don't have that many members. And what will happen to the rest of the cities right here in British Columbia? Like Bannaby has RCMP, Coquitlam and other places. So eventually, do you think that this RCMP will weed out and they will have their own police? Or is it too early to say that?
Well, I think one thing, and I can just speak to what I know now, and there's lots for certain I don't know what the future may look like, but what we do know is that the provincial government set up a commission to look at and review all of policing in British Columbia, not just how many police officers, which stripe they're wearing, but all aspects of policing. And all parties, and it was the people that were on the committee were people from the NDP, BC United, and also the Green Party. They unilaterally agreed down the road, the policing model that the province should be looking at is regional policing or provincial policing. So there would be 5 regions throughout the region. If we're smart here in Surrey, what we will do is we will take a leadership role and say, okay, we're developing the Surrey police model. Let's make sure as we develop it, we're building capacity so that this can be the hub for our region for policing, which is why I've been advocating to have a center of excellence for police training for all of the Lower Mainland and the province for that matter for municipal policing. But we need to have it right here in Surrey.
My other question then is, when we really think of it, they were saying there are 1,500 RCMP shot in British Columbia, and Mike Farnworth had a look at it, and that's not enough bodies or boots on the ground to be able to provide the service that they are assigned or signed up to do. Do you think with SPS there are 400 members shot, and there are 40 that came from VPD and 20 from GB TAPS, which is Metro Vancouver Transit Police, and 1 from Delta? 400 boots to fill is a big thing. And do you think in a year's time, when this transition is going to be taking over, would SPS be able to have that many boots on the ground?
It will take them a while. One of the big holdups, if you will be the capacity space at the Justice Institute.
Yeah.
And because there are only so many seats, and we know that VPD has to staff up as well, not just for the officers that have left and moved to Surrey or for retirements, but they're also wanting to increase the number of boots on the ground. So we've got to find a way to fix that. And that was why I've been advocating again for this Centre of Excellence for Police Training here in Surrey, because that will allow us to move forward easier with the Surrey Police Service without compromising policing anywhere else. And will also allow the other municipalities to be able to staff up to whatever their requirement is.
What's your take on
Yeah, we're looking at a several years more of transition, no matter what, right? So they were saying operationally perhaps a year, but then like 3 years to really shift things. I think at the end of the day, we're talking about a paramilitary force of the RCMP. There are other jurisdictions in the world that have different models of policing, where you have the more municipal or regional, followed by like the federal, right? This is nothing new. And certainly federal typically does not have as large of a force as Canada's a relatively small country in comparison to some of the other jurisdictions. So I think it's entirely possible. I would say, knowing just how difficult it's been for SPS or RCMP or just people in policing, it's been so dramatic. It's been really difficult to do the job and to face the kind of political atmosphere, right, where people have felt that they were put down, right, that they were kind of used, or why would you join at this point? You know what I mean? And I think so. Hopefully, with a decision, and hopefully this being the end, then people can kind of see where they want to be. Do they want to be more federal? Do they want to be more regional? Like what, where do they lay with? I see an opportunity, as Linda kind of points, to really looking at the programs we do have. So for example, do we need police in schools? Do we need mental health services?
Yeah.
To be a much stronger component alongside, right? So this is a way that perhaps those numbers change a little bit. Mm-hmm. So if we only look at one model that we've always had, I don't think that's what Surrey is today. Surrey is rapidly growing and transforming, and what our needs now are very different to what they were before. So I think policing has to change as well for that. So I think sometimes you look at a certain number, I'm like, well, but what is that number made up of? And some of the programs that might have been or need to be need to be increased, let's look at the potential of our community and what we can do as services. I mean, we're also short EMTs. We're short, we're short all kinds of things that also have, a role to play in our safety. So I think I would assume the government would not make this decision if they thought the SPS couldn't do the job. Yeah. Right? That's the bottom line. And again, with that transition happening, maybe, long story short, maybe we're ahead of the curve here. Maybe now this is going to allow us to set up the procedures to really be at the forefront of that regional policing element. Again, to me, that there's a hope here that things can transfer, and RCMP has this historical legacy that I think some people are holding on to, which is fine. Everybody has different opinions on what that legacy is. That being said, generally, what do we need? What makes you feel safe? What looks at our people's, mental health, physical health, all those things, and what do we need to make that happen? The stripe shouldn't matter at the end of the day. It really shouldn't. And so I'm hopeful that at least we can start looking at that moving forward.
I have a personal feeling, and my children are into policing and all that, but the way, even with RCMP and SPS, both the forces, I think the way people were put on hold for that long and nothing was very clear, it's not fair for SPS or RCMP or any other policing. It should have been more clear that, because it's their livelihood. It's just like we have a livelihood. They don't know whether we're going to be here tomorrow or not. I think it could have some sensitivity to that and maybe some leeway and some kind of a compensation. That's what I am feeling. But these RCMPs, because there are so many shortages in British Columbia, Burnaby and everywhere else, they can join the other forces. So they're not going to completely disappear. And also we have to remember, RCMP is not going to go out because their headquarters is based in here. They just don't do boots on the ground. They do a lot of other things like CFSU, IHIT, and all that is still going to be part of that RCMP. And the SPS will be, complement.
And that's something that can be done a lot better, if I can say as a resident,
Yes.
like having read the reports and all that. But I want to see a more clear definition for the, regular people like us to understand.
Yes.
So what does it actually look like? What are the labs like? What's IHIT like? Like all these different mechanisms.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're still around, and maybe because we don't always understand what policing actually is.
Yeah.
It's not just what you see in the movies or on TV, right? I think so I would say to any politician or people in charge of these transitions, like really explain what this looks like. What do the RCMP do in any typical investigation, or if there is a deceased individual, right? How does IHIT play a role? I teach this in my classroom, so it's like, if we don't understand these things, we're never going to be able to really figure out what it is we actually need. So that's something that communication-wise, I felt was not done well enough to actually allow people to understand what the transition would actually be like if there was to be one.
I think it's really important
Yes.
as we move forward through to transitioning to the Surrey Police Service, that the Surrey Police Service gets out into the community right away and gets ahead of all of this and talks about what's going to be different and engage with people. What is it you need? What do you need in your community to make you feel safer? And to really understand and to be able to work together. And, whether or not, I don't know whether Chief Lipinski has made a decision yet whether he will stay within the integrated forces, because that's elective, for by way of example, the gang unit or IHIT or the dog squad, VPD has their own.
Yeah.
He may elect to go that model, or he may elect to stay with the current model. Those are all questions that we don't know yet. And going back to that's all the more reason why they need to get out there and explain to people what direction they're going and what does it look like and what is it you want from your police.
I think there was a lack of transparency with our CMP, I found. They were kind of a militant type, is my uniform, my division, my this, not outsiders were allowed to go in. And those are the questions that we still have. What is their model? How they operate? Everything seemed to be very secretive. And I think the new force, which are members, most of them joined from VPD because they are living closer to home and all that. They got to be some openness.
Well, I would caution though too, when they're doing investigations, oftentimes they know a lot of information, but they can't necessarily share it with the victim or the victim's family or the friends or even the community, because if they give a piece of intel, that may tip off the perpetrator in terms of they're on to them. So there's a fine line there, but they do need to be engaged and they need to be out in the community and thinking, at VPD, their community policing model, and I know that was part of Chief Lipinski's model moving forward to have more community policing, but we need to be talking to the residents and explaining what that looks like and how do you use it.
I think any service to the public needs to be reflective.
Yeah.
So I would say that, and I've heard officers who are part of the RCMP who had criticism of the RCMP, right? Because they're in it, right?
Yeah.
They do the day-to-day and they're getting affected by, whatever model. Take the name away, you don't really have to think about just RCMP alone. So I hope that could be listened to as well. Yeah. So as people shift, as they change, some people that left and wanted to join SPS had very real reasons for doing so. Yeah. And those cannot be denied. And speaking to quite a few RCMP members around the country, absolutely there's criticism of that model. Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. And as there should be of every single institution in society. We should never just give them all the power and just assume that they know all the answers.
But I do think we also have to be mindful, by and large, all police services, all members are in it for the right reason. They're wanting to serve us well. And going back to your earlier comment about how trying and difficult this is for both Surrey Police Service and RCMP members that are serving us on a day-to-day basis, I feel extremely badly for them. Mm-hmm. Both, have been in a very uncomfortable position. This has been a political football. Yeah. They shouldn't have had to be subjected to that. Mm-hmm. And, I just really admire all of them for the patience that they've had as we go through this process. And they've really, done the best they possibly can with the tools they've got into keeping us safe in Surrey.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that is the key, because I think we need to respect both of them, because, nobody just chooses to go into policing because people leave home and they don't know if they're going to be coming back to home to have a dinner with the family and all that. That's a very risky job that you and me maybe can never do it, but there are people in the community that take upon that huge risk and they do the job. So my hats off to SPS, all the police forces. It doesn't matter whether they are CMP, because they put their job on the line or life on the line to be able to do so, protect everybody. So that was about policing. What do you think? There is 2 missing children that are still missing right now, and there's an Amber Alert. And there's about 4th, 5th day that they haven't been found. And I think this is on the radar for everybody that are listening to the news. Do you think they are doing good job of letting people get informed where they are and what's happening with this? I know the kids are with the mother and the boyfriend and the grandfather, but that is kind of, it's a kidnapping that the kids were supposed to be returned to the father.
I think the police forces have done a great job of having an Amber Alert and getting the messaging out that way. How close the police are to finding the kids, I don't know, because again, they may know an awful lot more than they want to share, because they don't want to spook the mother or the boyfriend or father into fleeing the country, by way of example, or doing something like that. So I think they probably know an awful lot more than that they're willing to and able to share, because first and foremost what we has to be is we want those kids returned safely.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the norm, unfortunately, right? A lot of these Amber Alerts, they come about this way. It's separation, it's family issues.
Yeah.
I'm just thankful that, because I actually was overseas when the Amber Alert was first issued, but I remember there was that horrible story in Ontario where people complained about the Amber Alerts, and the poor child, unfortunately, was murdered at the end. I'm just hopeful people can be patient. We help as much as we can. If there is any information, that we do provide that to policing. If anybody sees anything or knows anything, this is the time to really step up and help that process. And hopefully this will be resolved soon. I think it's sad that it's been so many days, and one is hopeful that hopefully even the people involved understand that this just needs to end, and we need to come to a very safe conclusion and peaceful conclusion to this. And I just hope people don't. I really didn't like how it kept happening. Like these ideas of like when these Amber Alerts are issued, or over phones and things like that. I'm like, no, I want to know. I always want to know. And so I think that's a good reminder to us to say there's a family that is needing help right now, and hopefully we can come to a peaceful and happy conclusion that everybody gets to go home to where they need to be.
And it would be nice too, I think, for people that are on social media or have access to media to share the image as much as possible, because just to keep it top of mind. So if you see the truck, or if you see the kids, or you see, the adults, right?
So in closing, and I hope this is the last time we'll be talking about policing, our CMP and SPS, what would those people that are watching you today, and you being a counselor, you have voted and you have a very strong voice, and you too, and we have been talking about this for a while, what kind of message you want to put it out to the public?
Well, my message to the public is thank you for being so patient. I know it's hugely frustrating for you not knowing what's going on, and for the we're going this direction, we're going that direction. I feel very badly that this has happened, but moving forward, we need to move forward in unison, no matter which force you supported, or if you didn't care. Let's just get through this together and complete the transition in a really timely fashion. And it's incumbent on me and my colleagues at City Hall and the police chief to keep you informed throughout the process.
I think safety should never be politicized.
Yeah.
Right? That's the bottom line. That's the message that I want to give to counselors, to other people,
Yeah.
Of any political stripe, to never do that, because that puts us in harm's way. And hopefully that at the end of the day, we need to come together. There might need to be private conversations of, if there was a feeling that Brenda Locke had been attacked, whatever, that those things need to happen too. But then to move on and to really start thinking about the residents.
Yes.
People who signed that petition, they signed it for a reason. What were those reasons, right? People that want to change. What were those reasons? People that were kind of in the middle, what's going on in their lives. And I know that there's so much we can do to build a Surrey that really looks at community safety in a way that hopefully is transformative and in ways that truly look at the identity of who we are, and can bring that forward. I think so. I see a lot of hope here. I'm hoping that the football that is can now be kind of transferred over, and then we move forward. And again, I just there's always going to be political things, but to politicize it to the point where we're no longer talking about the issue and something else is not a good look. And it does mean to myself as a voting individual, I would not vote for individuals that would continue to politicize a situation that is so more important than, the policing stripe, as it were.
So with me, I'll just add my 2 cents as well with Chief Lewinsky, and I know the decision has been made. And I think if you want to make it through or see it better, you should be coming down to the community centers, meeting with the people, and just ask about the model, what model they would want to see, because it's something new. Everybody can learn from that. Vancouver has their own, but they started in 1952. And that's what they are today. So there's a lot to be learned. But I think maybe if we all want to work together and make it a very smooth sailing or smooth transaction, then I think it would be good to get to know the people, who the community members are. There are so many different communities, First Nations. There are a lot of Filipinos in here, Philippine communities, Fijians and South Asian and all this. I mean, go to there and talk about them and what can they do better and how can they keep their city safe for everybody that choose to live in Surrey.
Well said.
Yeah.
I understand how important it is to have a place called home, and it's frustrating using your hard-earned money on rent. Vic Prasad can make you a homeowner. Get pre-approved services provided to first-time buyers and new immigrants. You can qualify for mortgage even if you have bad credit. Call Vic Prasad now on 604-306-6647. Vic Prasad is associated with Craft Mortgages Canada Incorporated.
For any kind of visa-related services, contact Milky Way Immigration, a galaxy of opportunities located at Unit 209-9547 152 Street, Surrey, BC. They have licensed immigration consultants, placement officers, and LMIA experts to meet your immigration and recruitment needs. Book one-time free consultation either on Facebook or by calling 604-396-0005. Bollywood Banquet Hall and Conference Center, located at Pyle Business Center at 201-8166 128th Street in Surrey. No celebration is too small to accommodate you. They have newly renovated 2 halls to serve you, up to 1,000 guest capacity, top-notch chefs to delight you with delectable and heavenly cuisine. So just call Bollywood Banquet Hall at 604-598-2700 for your events.